I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them.
Continue our coverage this evening of the local state employee who was arrested and terminated from his position after several kilograms of suspected cocaine were seized.
We are going to fight to keep America safe again.
8 kilos of cocaine found not in some cartel stash house, but inside the governor's own office. And the man carrying it, the very official handpicked to represent the state's western region. This wasn't a drug ring in the shadows. This was the heart of government turned into a supply chain, not an outside enemy, a betrayal from within. If you think that's where the corruption ends, think again. We're about to dig deeper, and what's buried down there will change everything.
Child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. He's a dirty cop.
At 5:12 a.m., Springfield, Massachusetts was still asleep. The streets were silent. The hallways of the state office building still, until the breached DEA agents, backed by FBI tactical units, moved through the corridors like ghosts. Quiet, precise, unstoppable. No shouts, no chaos. Just the echo of boots and the weight of what they already suspected. Then a crash. A steel door ripped open. The sound rolled down the hallway like thunder. Inside, desks were neatly arranged, stacks of paperwork, framed family photos, coffee cups still half full, symbols of duty, of trust. But that trust had already been shattered. On the conference table sat a sealed courier box. When agents cracked it open, the truth hit them like a punch to the gut. 8 kilograms of cocaine, a 9mm handgun, an envelope with $38,500 in cash, and standing there, wrist-bound in cuffs, was Lamar Cook, Deputy Director of the Governor's Office for Western Massachusetts. A man who had spoken about integrity, about serving the people. Now he was caught with enough cocaine to flood entire neighborhoods. This wasn't just another drug bust. This was rot from the inside. When the people sworn to protect the system become the ones poisoning it, that's not crime. That's infiltration. If you're still watching, you already know this story goes much deeper. Drop a comment. Let me know you're still with me. After Lamar Cook's arrest, the DEA's digital forensics team turned to the laptop found on his desk. What they uncovered wasn't standard government data. The files were wrapped in heavy encryption, the kind you don't see in state offices. The FBI's cyber unit worked for hours before finally breaking through. And when the screen came to life, the case exploded from one man's arrest into something far bigger. Inside were shipping records, encrypted schedules, and coded notes, documenting a string of shipments spanning over 14 months. These weren't harmless packages. They were carrying fake Adderall pills, meth crystals, fentanyl tablets, drugs disguised to blend into everyday life. Many shipments traced back to Mexico, part of a massive Sinaloa cartel pipeline. 19 shipments in total, each between 8 and 20 kilos, quietly funneled through the state's own postal routes and government warehouse docks. But what came next was worse. The deeper investigators dug, the more familiar the names became. Not cartel members or street dealers, but public servants, patrol officers, deputies, court clerks, each one playing a small part in a network designed to move cocaine straight into Massachusetts neighborhoods, schools, and homes, all during government business hours. This wasn't corruption on the surface. It was a system built to hide in plain sight.
FBI operation ended in dozens arrested, including police officers, sheriff's deputies, and 2 sheriffs.
Packages moved quietly through the State House mailroom. Evidence was hidden in municipal storage facilities owned by the state. The drugs themselves didn't come from Massachusetts. They came from La Nueva Sangre, a violent paramilitary cartel running operations up and down the Northeast corridor, from New York to Maine. This wasn't corruption from the outside. This was the system devouring itself. Badges, oaths, and offices twisted into weapons against the very people they were meant to protect. Now the question isn't who's involved, it's how far it goes, and the next move won't be quiet. This isn't an investigation anymore. It's about to become a war. At 3:50 a.m., inside a federal command post just outside Worcester, a digital map of Massachusetts glowed in red. Each dot a suspected node in the network. Storage units, safe houses, parking lots, and apartments hidden in plain sight among quiet neighborhoods. At 4:03 a.m., one encrypted message flashed across the command screen. Action, all units. Then the night came alive. Across the state and into the 5 boroughs, FBI, DEA, and state tactical teams moved in perfect sync, 14 targets, 14 minutes, no warning, no escape. In Lowell, armored trucks surrounded a 2-story auto shop. Agents stacked at the entrance. A blinding flash. The steel door blew open. Inside, 3 men went for their weapons, but they never got the chance. Stun grenades erupted, the shock ricocheting off the concrete walls like thunder trapped in a box. Meanwhile, in Springfield, agents stormed a warehouse disguised as an agricultural supplier. Beneath stacks of tarps and fertilizer bags, they found the truth. 200 pounds of cocaine and 90 pounds of fentanyl, neatly packed and ready to ship. The silence was over. The war had begun. 4 major distribution corridors snaked through Massachusetts, buried inside legitimate shipping companies. Their trucks carried produce, lumber, construction materials, and sealed containers no one questioned. The cocaine found on Lamar Cook's desk was just one drop in a river that stretched from the Mexican border through Ohio and New York, all the way into Boston's commuter belt. Then came the storage network, warehouses posing as community food banks. Behind pallets of frozen vegetables were bricks of narcotics marked with coded symbols, purity levels, destinations, and distribution tags. Next, the financial arteries. Investigators traced 2 private casinos, no neon signs, no public entrances, where cash turned into chips, and chips turned into offshore deposits routed through shell companies in Delaware and Puerto Rico. No audits, no alarms, just money that looked legitimate. The most disturbing find came from a so-called charitable foundation, a nonprofit claiming to support youth programs. It had processed over $11.3 million in donations, all from drug profits. Fake donors, real money, funds that flowed into political campaigns, consulting fees, and security contracts for local officials. The network didn't hide in the shadows. It hid behind good intentions, in the faces of trusted people. Your mechanic, your neighbor, your community sponsor, your elected representative. It survived not just through violence, but through trust, bought silently, one favor at a time. As the final evidence pins were placed on the board, the room went still. The numbers told the story. $220 million in annual profits. Thousands of lives touched. Institutions compromised from within. But amid the chaos, analysts found something else. Weak points, certain names, certain places. The empire was wide, but fragile where it mattered. And so a decision was made. The next phase wouldn't be surveillance, it would be purification. The badge had been stained, now it would be cleaned. The raids had exposed the network. The map had revealed its shape. But the hardest fight was just beginning, because the cartel's deadliest weapon was never the drugs it moved. It was the trust it stole. At dawn, unmarked federal vans rolled through the streets of Massachusetts, not toward gang houses or warehouses this time, but police precincts, municipal offices, and state agencies. This wasn't another raid. This was a reckoning. No flashbangs, no shouting, just precision, surgical, inevitable. Inside a district station in Worcester, officers gathered for morning briefings like any other day until federal agents walked through the doors. No raised weapons, just warrants. A lieutenant with 23 years of service stood frozen as his badge and sidearm were taken. A detective, once praised for cleaning up the streets, bowed his head as his own handcuffs clicked shut. A procurement officer stared in silence as agents pulled envelopes of fake community outreach funds from his filing cabinet. By noon, 17 officers, 2 municipal administrators, and 1 state procurement advisor were in custody. No resistance, no excuses, just silence, heavy enough to bend the room. Some officers turned away, others stared at the floor. A few watched with tears in their eyes because deep down, they'd felt something was wrong, but never imagined it ran this deep. Outside, an elderly man stood on the sidewalk holding a folded American flag, the same one he donated to the precinct after his son's funeral. He didn't shout, he didn't curse. He just watched, realizing the uniform he once trusted had betrayed him. Across Massachusetts, crowds gathered, some angry, some heartbroken, most just stunned, because it wasn't strangers poisoning their neighborhoods. It was the people sworn to protect them. In Boston, the governor addressed the state. His voice wasn't loud, it was steady, controlled, like someone standing over a cracked foundation. If the badge is used to harm the people, the shield is broken. And when the shield is broken, we repair it. We do not look away. From that moment, the Integrity Review Task Force was born, an independent bureau with full power to audit police departments, state offices, and public procurement systems. Its mission: restore trust where trust was stolen, rebuild institutions where they'd been corrupted, protect communities that had been betrayed. It wouldn't be quick, it wouldn't be easy, but it had begun. What started as the arrest of Lamar Cook was no longer a single scandal. It was a warning of how close darkness had come to the heart of public trust. And from that day forward, Massachusetts refused to look away. When the last door shut, when the final ledger was logged, when the badges were sealed into evidence bags, the state stood still, not in triumph, but in truth. It wasn't victory. It wasn't relief. It was a reckoning. Because this was never just about cocaine or cash or seized weapons. It was about trust, the fragile bond between the people and those sworn to defend them. The firefights, the raids, the arrests, they all led to one chilling truth. The threat wasn't outside our borders. It was inside our offices. It was wearing our uniforms. It was shaking our hands. But the same state that was infiltrated also fought back, not with denial, not with silence, but with exposure and accountability. Badges were stripped. Departments were cleaned. Names were spoken aloud, without fear of who they once were. And now the question that remains is the one that matters most. What do we do next? Because corruption doesn't die in one raid. Cartels don't vanish in a single night, and trust doesn't rebuild itself overnight. This story isn't just about Massachusetts. It's about every city, every county, every department across America that believes it's immune until it's not. So I'll ask you, not as viewers, but as citizens who live beneath the same flag, do you believe this fight should continue? If you do, share this story. Comment so it reaches one more person who still believes integrity matters. Shield or silence? Which side are you on? Because the war for truth isn't over. Massachusetts was only the beginning, and the next state won't fall this quietly.